We've received quite a bit of interest in my free to be workshop, so to that effect, beneath this video is a link that will give you a description for the workshop, and we've also included a special discount. So if that's something you would be interested in, I would invite you to click that link, and I hope that you would find the course to be quite beneficial. If you were to ask the narcissist a very basic question, I want you to think about what kind of response you might receive from them. The question would be, hey, do you ever think of yourself as having fears that might drive you and influence the way that you interact with other individuals? Now, most narcissists are not exactly known for being psychologically insightful, and in response to that question, be like, no, I'm not a fear-driven kind of a person. Now, let's keep in mind that these are individuals who have a whole lot of things that they don't want you to know about. I mean, and we're just talking about basic humanity. Sometimes they make poor decisions, just like the rest of us, by the way. Or sometimes they have hurt or pain that has been a part of their life. Sometimes they have habits that might be considered questionable. Or maybe they've made mistakes. Or maybe they have some weaknesses in certain skill sets. Others are better than them on some kind of things. Sometimes they don't exactly manage their emotions in a real good way. In fact, they can mismanage their emotions a lot. They may have had embarrassing kind of circumstances. And so when you ask that question, do you ever have any kind of fears? They kind of conveniently overlook the fact that I'm not talking about any of that stuff. I don't want to reveal anything. I don't want those kinds of things to be known. That's off limits. They cannot and they will not take responsibility for that. But more than that, they don't want it to be known and seen. Now, there's a very simple explanation for that, and that is when you engage with narcissists, it doesn't take long for you to begin to realize these people are living behind a mask. They want to create a persona. They want to create an image that's more flattering than what it really needs to be. And when you come along and say, hey, you want to talk about some real stuff here? It's like, I don't do that. And they don't want to allow themselves to be known as fully human. And let's keep in mind the word fully. They partition out certain things. I'll let you see some things, but I'm afraid of letting you know certain things that might not make me look in a very flattering kind of way. That's what I mean when I say that these can be fear-based individuals. They don't trust and they have dread when it comes to being open about that. Now, when we look at this, we can realize that one of the single greatest fear that a narcissist can have is taking off the mask. You know, one of the things that I would do when I would be working with individuals in my therapy office is it'd be like, if you're going to come in here and if we're going to make any kind of progress, we need you to just be real. I want you to be honest and just put it all out there. And I wanted them to know that I would be a safe person. I wouldn't be judgmental. We can just take whatever is laid out there and say, let's work it through. Let's figure it out. And narcissists like, that's not my gig. I don't do that. I don't like that one bit at all. And certainly, if they're not going to do that with someone who's a professional, they're not going to do it inside their home or in their with their friendships or at a place of work. What is it that makes narcissists so afraid of taking off their mask, of just being real? And when I say they're afraid, that may not even be a strong enough word. They dread having the mask taken off. Now, there are multiple things that we can say that's beneath all of this. First, it's interesting for us to realize that narcissists, when they engage with you, particularly if there's going to be any kind of difference or strain that might show up, they begin relationships with what I refer to as assumed hostility. You ever heard of that? Assumed hostility. And by that I mean, it's like if you differ from me, if you have an idea that's not the same, if you confront me, you're out to get me, aren't you? And there can be a type of, not just mistrust, but almost a paranoia. It's like, yeah, I've been around people like you. People like you just want to blame and accuse and judge. You're to make false assumptions if I let you know about who I am. You just want to control me. That's what I mean. They assume that before you may even give them evidence to back that up. But that's how they think. There's already a presumption. It's not going to go well if you and I are not on the same page. Now, taking it a little bit further, that's probably set up by the fact that they have a history where they've suffered from some significant disappointments, whether it's people who have walked away from them, or if it's people who have judged them or mocked them, or who just wouldn't let them in their club, so to speak. They've been scolded or told that they would not measure up, or maybe they've been required to be that perfect and ideal individual, but deep down they know that that's not going to be the case. But they've had many disappointments thinking, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to measure up to everybody else's requirements of me. In addition, when it comes to managing diversity, these individuals can look back and think, I never really learned how to do that. Or if people taught that to me, it didn't make much sense. They automatically think that if you're different, or if you have different preferences or backgrounds or whatever, that it becomes a competition. Somehow differences mean, okay, well, one of us has to be right, one of us has to be wrong. Game on, I'm going to win, I'm going to show you. Just like I know you're trying to do that, so I'll try to beat you before you beat me. And they think so heavily in competition terms that it sets up that fear kind of reaction. Now, in addition to that, we can say that basically when it comes to narcissists trying to come to terms with individuals who think a little bit differently, they just assume that differentness means poison, that you're going to be highly critical and they don't want to be on the receiving end of your poison. Now, they'll be more than happy to give you their poison, but to them, being vulnerable, having to ask for help means, well, that means I'd have to give up my power and I'm not going to allow that to happen. Emotional expressions that were a major part of their personal history probably lean more in the negative direction. For example, anger or agitation or annoyance or irritability. If they had tenderness or if they had safe people in their world, it's like it wasn't nearly enough because they've assumed that the world in front of them is probably going to be angry as opposed to safe, which is why they keep the mask up. It's like, I'm not letting you in to see what's there. And as a result, they've been exposed to a lot of blame assessment, and in general, they've been exposed to a lot of criticism. People might say things like, well, that's stupid, or why would you think that way, or you're too fat, or this person over here, they're a bunch of idiots anyway. So when you ask the question to them, do you think of yourself as being fear-based, they're going to keep the mask up and say, I'm good, I'm fine, I don't have any kind of problems. And they lose sight of the fact that mask is direct evidence that says, I dread anybody knowing me at any kind of in-depth level. That's just not going to happen. Now, when going back to me in my therapy office, when I would be in therapy with individuals and I realized that they had maybe some history that caused them to think, I can't afford to take the mask off, I can't afford to let folks know me, I would try to explain to them, there are some adjustments that we can do so that you're not going to be so grounded in your fears. For example, as an adult, if you look back and you can see that maybe some people weren't trustworthy, or they were critical, or they were negative or angry, you're under no obligation as that adult to maintain the false messages or to receive the false messages that were offered to you in your childhood. That was then, and those individuals were wrong in treating you in that way. You don't have to stay in the same pattern. You're an adult now, which takes us to a little bit further mindset, and that is, I would also explain, as an adult, rather than living in fear with that mask up, you can claim your own privilege to choose for yourself who you're going to be, and acknowledge you're a mixed bag. You have pluses and minuses, and it's okay for you to say, you know, if you folks out there want to judge, that's on you, but I have a lot of healthy characteristics, and I'm very willing to talk through in discernment with people who would like to be real and human with me. in therapeutic growth, we can recognize not everyone is out there to get you. And you don't have to have that assumed hostility right there up front. That implies that there's a lot of black and white, all or nothing thinking that's entrenched in your mind. As an adult, rather than living behind that mask with a great deal of fear, you can remind yourself that you have core dignity. And you don't have to constantly wear a mask or defend yourself to maintain that. If somebody else doesn't acknowledge your core dignity, that's on them. It's not on you. You can't force people to change. You can drop the illusion that you can and should be in control. But the bottom line is you can hold on to inner strength and the calmness and the confidence and the certainty or the clarity that comes from saying, I get to be me, and I'm a work in progress, and I like what I'm doing so far. I still have more to go. Please join me. Narcissists can't think that way. They have to keep up that false front. The narcissist thinks, I've been living with this mask on for so long that I can't even acknowledge that I even have a mask. I don't believe in the vulnerability and the tenderness that goes along with that. That's just not something that I do. I'm afraid I would come in second place if I went into that kind of space. And frankly, without my mask on, I don't know what I would do when my humanity shows up. I'd rather just go ahead and keep that front. Now, my response to all of that is wearing a mask is stifling to the point of suffocating. And I'd like to be able to breathe wholly psychologically. So know that the narcissists, they dread you coming along saying, take the mask off, because that means that they would have to give up their power and dominance and all the false bravado that goes along with that. But I'm hoping that you can see through their fears and realize that's something that reveals how there's a feeling of weakness that they have on the inside. But here on Team Healthy, we stand for dignity, respect, and civility. I hope that you're a giver of that, but it starts with you being able to receive those kind of ingredients within yourself. And that would differentiate you from that mask-wearing, fear-based narcissist who just basically says, I am not going to allow myself to be known as a real person. Now, I hope videos such as this can give you some good awareness of what you're dealing with. And if you've not already hit that subscribe button, I would encourage you to do so. We're going to keep more videos coming in your direction. Watch them on a cumulative basis, and I hope it gives you a good educational process. Likewise, when you're dealing with situations that involve these kind of things, I know it can be helpful for you to find a therapist that can help you sift this out. I've been sponsored for years by the people at BetterHelp.com. It's an online therapy resource. It's affordable, it's accessible, it's effective. There's a link below that would take you to their website, and you have to fill out a few things on their paperwork there, and then there's a whole team of licensed professional therapists that you can choose from. Please get the assistance that you would deserve. Likewise, I also have put together some courses. They're very extensive, and I put a lot of work into them. Each course has as many as 25 or more videos with written documents, guided questions, and they're meant to take you in a healthy therapeutic direction. We have Ready, Set, Connect about making good connections with others. This is me about establishing those necessary boundaries, free to be finding yourself despite the fact that you may have been controlled by others. We also have my webinars that are presented in a different kind of format, along with my podcast, our many articles on our website. We have my books, plenty of resources. Okay, the one thing that narcissists dread more than anything else is having someone come along and say, hey, let me look behind that mask. Take it off. It's okay. It's like, I am not about to do that. I'm too weak to be able to figure out what that would mean. I'm not going there. Okay, that's where they are. In the meantime, I'm hoping that you are committed to transparency, openness, authenticity, because as you do, then that allows you to be a person that has a whole lot less things of cover up, and it positions you to move towards a lifestyle that would be anchored in peace.